Here coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Do It Now podcast number 2023. Tonight we are talking about, what are we talking about? That's a really good question. Hang on. I didn't bring my notes up. I put this on the other computer. Heirlooms in history, unlocking the stories behind family treasures. So what are family treasures? Well, we'll talk about that tonight. My question for you this evening is, what's the most meaningful heirloom in your family? Is it a piece of jewelry, a handwritten letter, or something completely unexpected? Let us know in the comments, and just let us know in the comments. So let's talk about heirlooms. I actually remembered to go grab one just before coming on the air. This is a piece of solid oak, and it is a barometer that hangs this way. What is a barometer? A barometer is something that measures the air pressure and tells you what the weather's going to be. This one has on it stormy, rain change, fair, and very dry. Yes. I can't remember which one of my great-grandfathers. It's either my great-grandfather or my one of my great-grandfathers or one of my second great-grandfathers that this used to belong to and has been passed down to me over time. Oh, I could have grabbed the other thing too. It doesn't work anymore. The little hand that you can move to put to where the barometer thingy is. Well, actually, no, this is actually quite correct right now because it's raining outside. So it's sitting on rain. But you can use this to turn and move it to wherever the blue needle is, whatever it's pointing to. It does hang on the wall, and it's able to sense wet weather, dry weather, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'll have to ask my parents which one of my great-grandfathers or second great-grandfathers this belonged to, because I can't remember. And I've had it sitting in a cupboard because I'm in a place where we're not allowed to hang anything on the walls. So it's been sitting in the cupboard, but soon it will have a place of honor in my house. When I moved down to when I moved to New Zealand, it will have a place in my house there, and it'll be hanging on the wall. And even if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. It's just the fact that it belonged to one of my ancestors. That's all I care about. It belonged to one of my ancestors and used to grace their home and tell them what the weather was doing outside. So that's one of my heirlooms that I have. Another one that I have, which I don't have in the room with me, is a bone china. It's got a bread and butter plate, a saucer, and a teacup. And that was given to me after my grandmother died. So my dad's mom, so my paternal grandmother, when she was 15 or 16, she actually gave that set to her mother, my great-grandmother, who I happen to be named after, for her birthday. And so I actually have inherited that, and it has a very special meaning to me. One, because it was from my grandmother, and I love my grandmother. And I also got to know her mom, my great-grandmother, because my great-grandmother was still alive, was around when I was born. And when she was told what my name was, my middle name's Mary, and that happens to be her first name. And she was so excited because she said that I was named after her and her sister. And Mum was a little confused because she didn't know that Granny had a sister called Helen. And it wasn't until years later when I was researching genealogy and, Mum had the name of the person in there that she knew as Auntie Nellie. I think it was Auntie Nellie. Was it Nellie? Something like that. And she always knew her as Elfrida. And I said, well, she's actually, and I actually found all the birth information, everything else. And I said, she's Elfrida Helen. And I said, so that was Granny's sister. So I was, even though I was named after my great-grandmother with my middle name, it turns out that she also had a sister called Helen as well. And she always claimed that I was named after both of them, even though I was only named after Granny. But, that's that story there. And so that cup and saucer with the plate, it has special meaning to me because my grandmother gave it to my great-grandmother. So, and now I have inherited and have that. What else do I have? So let's talk about some of these things in here. Let's see. So family heirlooms can have personal stories. They can hold sentimental or historic or monetary value. You see it all the time when you're looking on Antiques Roadshow, when you see those shows where people bring in, they bring in their pieces. They tell them how they obtained the piece. They give them the history as they know it, as to how they came into owning that piece. Then the antique expert will then look at the piece and then turn around and give you a little more history on the piece. because they may be a specialist in whatever that particular item is, in this case, a barometer, and they may turn around and tell you more stories about it. There is no markings on the back of this. I know they look for markings. They may be able to date it based on the lettering and the numbering style on the front, but I don't see any maker markings or anything like that. So who knows? Is it worth anything? I don't know. Do I care? Not really. No. It's the fact that it used to belong to one of my ancestors that, for me, it's sentimental. Get those words out right. So how do you trace the origins of family keepsakes? Ask older relatives if they know where an item came from. Look for engravings, dates, or maker's marks that can help you identify its origin. Research letters, diaries, even photographs that might reference the heirlooms. I know my late mother-in-law used to have a whole bunch of antiques and things around her house. And they used to buy things when they were traveling overseas, and they had a lot of meaning to them when they bought them back and that sort of thing. And we happened to find a binder, and in that binder was appraisals for every single item. And for those that they had purchased, they had a copy of the receipt in with it. So when she passed, it saved a lot of time, because we knew when and where that was purchased. We knew how much it was paid for it. We knew what the last appraisal was. And so that gave them some idea of what things were worth for those items that they didn't want to keep. So it can be very helpful if you have that sort of documentation around. Also, look at other things like wills and probates. Did your ancestor leave behind an inventory of possessions? So it could be in that inventory of possessions. Marriage and birth certificates, jewelry and furniture were often passed down at weddings. And old newspapers, announcements with wedding gifts. Yes, I've always told you, if you've watched me for a while, you will know that the older newspapers were just great gossip columns. They had news in there, but they had the society pages, which was basically a gossip column. And in there, they would announce wedding gifts that people were given, business ownerships if it changed hand, estate sales, anything like that may offer clues as to where the heirlooms came from. And if your heirloom was handcrafted like quilts, furniture, or jewelry, research the traditional crafting techniques from your ancestors' homeland or the area that they lived in at the time when the piece was made. They may have already been in the country you now live in, or they could have come from somewhere else as well. So all sorts of funs and games. Funs and games? We're talking funs and games tonight. Where is it coming from? I don't know. But we're having fun and games. So many quilts were wedding gifts and made for special occasions. Some women used to have I don't know if they still have them these days, but they used to have hope chests. And a hope chest was in hope of getting married. And so you handmade quilts, sheets, pillowcases, any textiles that you would need for in the home, the doilies, the dishcloths, anything, any towels, anything like that you would need in the home. And you would collect it over and you would hand make it and put it into this chest. And that when you moved into the home with your new husband, that's the items that went with you. So you were able to, you had bedding that could go on the bed. You had stuff that could be used in the kitchen, stuff that could be used in the bathroom, all sorts of things. Curtains were kind of left till the last minute in some places because they didn't know how big the curtains were going to be, unless the husband was building the house and gave you the measurements of the curtain, of the windows, so you could then make the curtains. And it wouldn't just be the bride that would be doing this. Once she got engaged, the local ladies would come together and they would start making things that she would need once she set up house. They even included, like, if it was a tradition for them to wear a bonnet to state that they were married, then they would be making those sorts of what do they call them? The caps that they used to wear. Once you got to a certain age or you were married, in some cultures, the married woman would wear a hat of some sort, a cap of some sort, and so those would be made at the same time as well. Some quilting patterns have hidden meanings. Underground Railroad quilts often contained coded messages. Crazy quilts in the Victorian era were made using scraps of meaningful fabric, like a child's first dress, a military uniform, a piece of a wedding dress, would all be put onto these crazy quilts that would be made from all sorts of different material. It didn't matter if the materials went together or not. it's why it's called a crazy quilt. Jewelry and precious metals, cameos, lockets, and rings were often engraved or initialed with dates. And I remember on one time my mum had given my dad a signet ring when they got engaged, and written on the inside on the band was the date of their engagement. And as we were driving to my mum's father's funeral, she said, didn't we get engaged on that date? Talking about the date that her father had passed. Didn't we get engaged on that date? And he's sort of like, I don't know. And Dad slipped off the ring and handed it to Mum, and she had a look, and inside it was the same date that my grandfather passed, but 25 years later. So it was very interesting. So I didn't know that he had a ring. I didn't know his signet ring had that date engraved on the inside. I didn't know the story behind that ring. So that day I learned that when my mum and dad got married, she gave him a signet ring with the engagement date engraved on the band on the inside, which I thought was kind of cool. I thought that was really great. I thought that was awesome. Mourning jewelry, mourning as in somebody has passed. So it's the mourning. So the mourning jewelry. When somebody has passed, it was common for women at that point to wear black for at least a year before they were allowed to put themselves out there again. But mourning jewelry was popular in the 1800s and sometimes contained woven hair from a loved one. So they may have had like a locket that was made specifically for that and had a piece of their husband's hair in there, or a child's, if it was a child that had passed. They may have put a lock of hair in that locket, and that was their mourning jewelry. Some gold heirlooms may have hallmarks that include where and when they were made. I know a lot of the times on gold pieces, it's not only stamped in there what the weight of the gold is in carats. There's also a mark there from the manufacturer's mark, who made that particular chain and that sort of thing. Other things that you can find for family heirlooms are many Bibles contain family trees, birth and marriage records were written inside, death records were written in there. Some books and letters included pressed flowers or a lock of hair, which can reveal sentimental connections. It could be the lock of a child's hair that's passed. It could have been flowers that were put on the grave that they've brought in and pressed. It could be pressed flowers from a wedding bouquet. All sorts of things that you can find, and they might be tucked in a favorite book of poetry, or a pile of letters. You might find it tucked inside a letter somewhere in a pile of letters. And even in the letter or the book, there could be some reference as to why the flowers are there or why the lock of hair is there. Old lefters. I think we need some water. Hang on. Old letters often had unique postal stamps, and you can research the location and time of period for more context. For those that are stamp collectors, this is a great way to increase your, for those that collect stamps, finding old letters that have the different postal stamps on them could reveal some different things. They could be stamps that are worth something. They could just be a common stamp that aren't worth very much. But the fact that they were used on a letter, there's a lot of different stamps around at times. And some of them are very rare and some of them are a little more common. Military memorabilia. Medals, dog tags, and uniforms can identify your ancestors' branch of service. Look for serial numbers or military insignia to track down enlistment records. Trent art was often created by soldiers in wartime, and this is decorative items that were made from shell casings. During World War II, some soldiers carried sweetheart jewelry, which was a locket or a bracelet engraved with their loved ones' names. My paternal grandmother was a huge collector of military badges, and she had a massive collection of them. And she would write to different military organizations around the world asking for them to send her for free to send her a set of their badges for whatever it was. And there was often, and she would show us the letters, there was often times that she got given a set of badges from a military organization of some sort, accompanied by a letter that would state they had never heard of a female badge collector before, and so they were happy to include this for her, just because they'd never heard of a female badge collector before. And she had, and the badges we're talking about are the ones that the military guys will wear on their lapels or on their uniforms, designating what unit they belong to. Things like, some of them were patches, some of them were metal. She had a fantastic collection. I just love sitting there and looking through them. And there was times that she would go to, like they would have the shows on that would sell the badges and coins, and those sorts of collectors would all be there. And we'd go looking with her, and she would go with a certain item in mind that if it was there, she would get it. And so she would tell us what she was looking for, and we would go search the different stores and things, and we'll go back and quietly tell her that Grandma, that guy over there, he's got that one that I think that you're looking for. And so Grandma would she didn't want to make it look like she was interested. She would just quietly meander and make her way over there and have a look and ask her and have a look at the pieces and just ask a couple of questions about a couple of the other pieces they had there. And then she'd go, oh, what's that one? What can you tell me about that one there? And it would be the one that she was interested in after she's already talked about other ones and gone, let me think about that one. Oh, what about this one here? What can you tell? She was very good at doing this. I used to love going to the shows with her to see, just to watch her work at shows and how not to show excitement because you found that one badge that you've been missing to make a complete set. And so, yeah, so she was very good at doing that. And it was a lot of fun going with her. Now you may have meaningful, heirlooms with surprising histories in them. When you're talking to your family members and stuff and you're asking about heirlooms, you're going to find some surprising stories that have come out about an heirloom that has come into the family in such an unusual way. I'm trying to think of, with my clients, I haven't really done a lot with heirlooms. It's more just their story and their family tree, but we haven't actually talked a lot about heirlooms. Yeah, so you've got, so if you think of things like the Hope Diamond has been passed down through royalty and is rumored to be cursed. Abraham Lincoln's pocket watch is inscribed with a secret message from the watchmaker. World War II soldier's letter that had been lost for 70 years was finally returned to his descendants. This is another reason that I love going through secondhand stores, like antique stores and that. You never know what you're going to find. You might find a stack of letters or a stack of postcards, a stack of photographs, that sort of thing. And if you take them home, you might be able to track what family they came from and return them to their owners. Because it could be that the people who are related to the people who wrote the letters may not have known about the letters, and somebody else cleared out the house or the property and just thought, oh, that's just rubbish, and basically just tossed it away. And I have heard of cases of that happening. Where somebody else has gone and not a family member and has been told just to get rid of everything, and they've gotten rid of like a writing desk, and inside the writing desk was the set of letters, and nobody knew that they were there. And so you might find the writing desk and find those letters, and you find the descendants of the person who wrote the letters, and you might contact them and see if they want them back. So there are incidences where that has happened, and it happens continually, where letters are found in unusual places, like inside a writing desk, inside a chest of drawers. It could be in a hidden compartment. Now, this is what I love about the older furniture, is that there's little hidden compartments and things, and you press something on the decoration over here, and a secret drawer opens up, or you open a drawer and you put your hand inside and you flip a switch, and a panel on the side swings out. Something just missed it. Desk furniture, older furniture and stuff holds many secrets. And it's just, when you get a piece of furniture, go through it with a fine-tooth comb, press and prod. And if something, if a drawer only goes back so far, but the desk is wide and you think the drawer goes back further, is there a secret compartment behind there? Does your desk have like solid side and all of that, but the drawers are here and you've still got a gap of like about this much between the edge of the desk and the edge of the drawer? Could there be a secret compartment in there? Who knows? Don't go breaking the furniture. All you need to do is just find if there's a switch somewhere or a piece of decorative thing you've got to turn or push, or turn and push. You can find out all sorts of things. Do you own an heirloom with an unusual or mystery past? Tell us about it. I'd love to hear. I love hearing stories about. I'm just a huge genealogy nut. What can I say? But heirlooms are more than just objects. They're living history connecting us to the past in powerful ways. Choose one heirloom in your family and research its history. Where did it come from? Who did it belong to? How did it come into the family? What's the story behind it? Just pretend you're going on something like Antiques Roadshow. What do you know about your piece and your item and stuff? And can it be something that, if you did end up on something like Antiques Roadshow with that piece, and it could be a painting. It could be anything. It could be a painting that, say, your second great-grandfather found in a store somewhere in England, and he brought it out to wherever he migrated to, Australia, New Zealand, wherever he migrated to. He found it in a store in England, and he moved it to the new homeland with him, when they decided to leave England and go to Canada or the US, Australia, New Zealand. And so that's all that you know about that piece. And then you find out that it's some lost art that's worth millions. There's all sorts of crazy, crazy stories out there. This is why I love watching Antiques Roadshow, because they bring in like the simplest of things, and they have the simplest of stories to tell. And then they find out that their little item, and it could be something, just like, this is a pop bottle of peppermints, but it could be something this size, but might have a price tag on it of like $20,000 because of what it is and the story behind it, and the fact that they could prove that that piece was actually part of that collection, or was from that historical period, or was made by this particular maker, and this particular maker's stuff is very rare to find. There's all sorts of stories out there. If you want to hear the stories, go watch an episode of Antiques Roadshow. Just type it into YouTube, Antiques Roadshow, and go watch some of the episodes they have on there. Some of them will floor you. I have seen people topple over when they've heard that this piece that they didn't think was worth very much was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. One poor guy just about fainted. He actually took a step back and tripped over and ended up on the floor. And he was just sort of like, "Are you kidding me?" And they're like, "No." And he goes, "But this piece was just found in somebody's garage. My grandmother bought it at a garage sale for $3, stuff like that." And they find out that it's some painting that's worth, and they found out it was some painting that was worth like $20,000. And they said, "Well, are you interested in selling?" They're like, "Absolutely not." They're going to hang on to that $3 investment that their grandmother made like 25 years ago. But it is very interesting to find out the stories behind things. And that's why I love Antiques Roadshow, because when you listen to those stories, you're telling the story of somebody's ancestor. It could be their mother, their grandmother, their great-grandmother. There is a story coming out from their family history about this piece. Now that they've had it valued and that it's been explained exactly what it is and all of that sort of stuff, they have got more that they can now add to their family history about the investment that their second great-grandfather made in England, or it cost him like a couple of shillings or whatever in some store that he found this painting, and to find out that it's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars years later, and nobody's really known anything about it. Everybody just happened to like the painting, and it just got passed down from generation to generation. These are stories that can go into your family tree, that can go into your family history, and you can talk about these finds that have been made and things like that. So enrich your family history stories with the stories of the heirlooms. Some of them aren't worth anything. It's just the sentiment. It's just the sentimental value that they have. What's the story behind your barometer, your heirlooms? What's the story behind it? All I know is that my parents gave me this, and I cannot remember which. I thought at one time I was actually going to write on the back of here who it belonged to, but I never did. But when I get back to New Zealand, I'm going to go to my parents and go, who did this belong to all those years ago? And then I'm going to, take a photo of it, write the little story up. What can you tell me about this? Who is around that can tell me that story about behind this barometer, whose it was. I know it is made out of solid oak. That's all I can tell you. And somebody will probably be able to date it based on the font that is on there. And I don't know, maybe they've got to look somewhere into this centerpiece here to see for some mark or something. I don't know. There's nothing on the back except the silver plate and this little hanger thingy here. Who knows? Maybe my grandfather made this. I don't know. But I don't see any other marks on here. So there may be something on here that I'm completely missing because I don't know that that's what it is, and somebody's able to actually tell me what era it's from. There's a little mark on a piece in here, which could be the manufacturer's mark. There's a little gold piece right here that's got some marking on it. So that maybe the maker's mark. I don't know. But it'd be interesting to get this taken in and learn more about it. But I have to find out first which one of my grandfathers it belonged to. Was it a grandfather? Was it a grandfather, a great-grandfather, or 2 times great-grandfather? I'll keep you posted on that when I learn more. But, you guys all have something that's been passed down through generations. What is the story behind it? Take photographs of the piece, write the story of the history behind that piece. And that's what I will be doing with that when I learn more about it. So with that, we are out of here. And our question to you tonight is, what's the most meaningful heirloom in your family? Is it a piece of jewelry, a handwritten letter, something completely unexpected? Does that piece have a very cool story to go with it? Is it just something that's been passed down through generations and nobody knows what the story is? Ask people, ask the family members if they've seen this piece before. What do they know about this piece? You never know what you're going to learn until you ask somebody. And with that, we are out of here. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m.